Emma Parker never imagined that something as simple as receiving packages could become a nightmare. It started innocuously enough. A missing book, then a pair of shoes. Each time, she convinced herself it was just a delivery mishap. But then, a pattern emerged, impossible to ignore. The small community where Emma lived was quiet, with neat rows of townhouses and manicured lawns. It was the kind of place where everyone's lives seemed transparent, except for what lurked just beneath the surface. One morning, Emma stood on her porch, coffee in hand, scanning the empty doorstep where a box should have been waiting for her. The sunlight glinted off the cracked sidewalk, but there was no sign of the package she'd been tracking for days. She pulled out her phone and refreshed the delivery app again, half hoping for a miracle. Nothing. Her heart sank. Not again. Emma wasn't the only one in the neighborhood complaining about missing packages. But when she brought it up at the monthly HOA meeting, the reaction was lukewarm. "It's probably just porch pirates," Mr. Bennett said dismissively, rubbing his thinning hair. "Try asking your neighbors to keep an eye out." But then Karen Mitchell spoke up. Karen was infamous. A stickler for rules. A watchdog who patrolled the community with the zeal of a detective. Her sharp eyes missed nothing, and she wielded her HOA badge like a weapon. "It's not random," Karen said quietly, but with conviction. "Someone here is stealing those packages on purpose. I've been watching, and I think I know who." Emma's pulse quickened. The room's chatter died down. Eyes turning toward Karen. Her words hung in the air like a challenge. Emma left the meeting uneasy. Something about Karen's tone unsettled her. Was Karen accusing someone? Or warning Emma? That night, Emma couldn't shake the feeling that she was being watched. She locked every door twice, checked the security system, and sat by the window, staring into the dark street. Days passed, and more packages disappeared. Emma's anxiety grew. Then, on a whim, she installed a small security camera near her front porch. A tiny device she hoped would catch the thief in the act. She watched the footage nervously. Hours of nothing then. Finally, a flicker on the screen. A shadow slipped across the porch, under the cloak of darkness. The figure moved swiftly and silently, reaching down to grab a package. Emma's breath caught in her throat. She zoomed in, straining to make out the face, and then she saw her, Karen Mitchell. Emma blinked in disbelief, rewinding the footage several times. Karen, the very woman who had spoken at the meeting, the one who always preached about community safety, was the thief. Her hand closed around Emma's package, then disappeared into the night. Why would Karen do this? What was her game? Emma's mind raced with possibilities, none of them comforting. Was Karen stealing out of greed? Or was something else at play? Could it be blackmail? Revenge? Worse yet, Emma felt a rising fear. If Karen was willing to steal packages, what else might she be hiding? What kind of power did she hold in the neighborhood? Emma confided in her friend Sarah, who urged caution. "You need to be careful. Karen's got a reputation, and she's well connected. Don't let her intimidate you." But Emma couldn't ignore the growing knot of suspicion and dread. Karen was watching the neighborhood, and now Emma was watching Karen. Emma felt a chill, realizing the dangerous game unfolding just steps from her front door. And in that moment, Emma knew one thing for certain. Karen didn't realize one thing either. She didn't see who was watching. Emma's heart hammered in her chest every time she heard the faint crunch of gravel on the driveway. Since the first footage showed Karen stealing her package, Emma's world had shifted. The neighborhood she once felt safe in now seemed shadowed by secrets and silent threats. She had never wanted to believe Karen capable of theft. After all, Karen was the HOA's self-appointed enforcer. the woman who lectured about lawn care violations and car parking rules with steely precision. But the footage didn't lie. Still, Emma hesitated. What if she was wrong? What if Karen was being framed? Or worse, what if Karen knew Emma was watching? On a rainy evening, Emma sat by the window, sipping tea, eyes glued to the porch camera feed on her laptop. The wind rattled the leaves outside, and distant thunder rolled over the neighborhood. Suddenly, a figure appeared. Tall, deliberate, and slow. Emma's breath caught. It was Karen. But something was different. Karen didn't dart like a thief tonight. Instead, she moved cautiously, scanning the street as if she expected someone, or something, to appear. Emma grabbed her phone and started recording the screen. She knew she had to capture everything. Karen paused at the edge of the porch, fingers brushing the railing. Then, instead of grabbing a package, she pulled a small device from her pocket and pointed it toward the street. A flicker of light pulsed from the gadget. Emma frowned. What was that? Suddenly, the streetlight nearby blinked erratically before going dark altogether. The neighborhood was plunged into near-total darkness, save for the faint glow of Emma's laptop screen. Emma's pulse quickened. Was Karen sabotaging the streetlight? Was this part of her plan? Or was she trying to protect the community in her own way? Before Emma could think further, her phone buzzed. A text message from an unknown number. Stop watching. Some things are better left in the dark. Emma's hands trembled as she stared at the warning. Was it from Karen or someone else entirely? Shaken, Emma closed the blinds and locked every door. But sleep eluded her. She kept imagining Karen lurking outside, watching, waiting for the next moment to strike. The next day, Emma confided in Mark, a quiet neighbor she'd met briefly at a barbecue last summer. Mark was a tech enthusiast with a knack for gadgets and surveillance. When Emma showed him the footage and told him about the mysterious message, his eyes darkened. This is bigger than petty theft, Mark said gravely. Karen's not just stealing packages. She's playing a dangerous game. They agreed to team up. Mark set up additional cameras at strategic points around Emma's house and nearby community mailboxes. They installed motion sensors and tested audio recorders, determined to catch every move Karen made. Days turned into restless nights. Every sound, every shadow set their nerves on edge. Then, one afternoon, Mark found something alarming in the footage from a neighbor's camera. Karen meeting with a man Emma had never seen before. The man wore a hooded jacket, his face obscured. They spoke briefly, hands exchanging what looked like a small package. Emma's blood ran cold. Who was this man? And what did Karen have to do with him? As the pieces of the puzzle started to fall into place, Emma realized she was no longer just fighting for her missing packages. She was entangled in something far darker, a secret hidden beneath the calm surface of the neighborhood. And Karen, the woman everyone trusted to keep order, was at the center of it all. Emma glanced nervously out her window, half expecting to see Karen watching her again. She wasn't sure who was the hunter and who was the prey anymore. Emma felt the weight of every glance cast her way. Since her uneasy alliance with Mark began, the neighborhood had turned into a maze of whispers and suspicious glances. She could feel eyes on her when she walked to the mailbox, felt the brush of tension when neighbors crossed the street to avoid her. But no one dared confront her directly, except Karen. One afternoon, as Emma checked the mailbox, a voice rang out sharply behind her. Watching your packages like a hawk won't save them, you know. Emma spun around. Karen stood there, arms crossed, eyes cold and unreadable. I'm just trying to protect what's mine, Emma said, her voice steady, despite the adrenaline buzzing in her veins. Karen smirked. Protect. Or pry. Maybe you like playing detective. Too much. Emma's jaw tightened. She wasn't about to back down. I'm just making sure no one steals from me. Karen's gaze flickered toward the street, then back to Emma. You don't know what you're dealing with. Before Emma could respond, Karen turned and walked away, leaving a trail of unanswered questions in her wake. That night, Emma sat alone in her living room, reviewing the latest footage Mark had set up. The cameras captured everything, every passerby, every shadow that lingered near her house. Then, in the late hours, a figure appeared on the screen. Karen. But this time, Karen wasn't stealing packages. She was standing motionless, almost statuesque, by the edge of the driveway. Her eyes scanned the street, unblinking. Emma's heart pounded. Was Karen waiting for someone? Or something? Mark joined her via video call, his voice low. She's watching. But not just you. Look here. Emma zoomed in on the footage. A second shadow flickered at the end of the street, distant, but unmistakable. Is that the hooded man from before? Emma whispered. Looks like it, Mark said. They're communicating somehow, but it's all happening in silence. No words, just gestures. Emma leaned closer. Karen raised her hand slowly. A faint flick of her fingers. The shadow at the street's end responded with a subtle nod before disappearing into the darkness. Emma swallowed hard. This wasn't about packages. It was something else entirely. A silent game of signals and surveillance. Days passed with more strange activity. Emma and Mark tracked every movement, piecing together a pattern of secret meetings and fleeting encounters. Emma's phone buzzed again. Another anonymous text. Stop watching, or the watchers will watch you. The warning was clear. Emma realized Karen wasn't just the thief anymore. She was part of something far more complicated, something that involved power and control over the neighborhood. Emma decided to confront Karen again, this time with Mark by her side. They found Karen near the community garden, pruning a rose bush. Her sharp eyes flicked up as they approached. We know you're watching us, Emma said boldly. Why are you doing this? What are you hiding? Karen's lips curled into a small smile, almost amused. You think this is about packages? This neighborhood is a chessboard, Emma, and every move counts. Mark stepped forward. Then why steal from your neighbors? What's the point? Karen's smile faded. Her eyes darkened with something unreadable. Sometimes, to protect the community, sacrifices have to be made. You just don't see the bigger picture. Emma felt a chill run down her spine. Karen wasn't just a nosy neighbor. She was playing a dangerous game, one with rules Emma didn't understand, and stakes far higher than missing packages. Karen turned and walked away. Emma and Mark exchanged worried looks. This wasn't over. It had only just begun. Emma's mind was spinning. Karen's cryptic words echoed in her ears. Sometimes, to protect the community, sacrifices have to be made. What did that mean? What kind of sacrifices? And who was really in control? Determined to find answers, Emma and Mark decided to dig deeper. They spent the next few days combing through the footage, hoping to find anything that might explain Karen's strange behavior. Late one night, as Emma sat in her living room, scrolling through the videos, something caught her eye. A glint of silver in Karen's hand during one of her late-night visits to the neighborhood mailbox. Emma zoomed in. It wasn't just a package Karen was carrying. It was something small, a shiny object wrapped tightly. Curiosity gnawed at her, and she paused the footage frame by frame. Then it hit her. The object was a USB drive. Emma's pulse quickened. What was Karen hiding on that tiny device? The next morning, Emma shared her discovery with Mark. A USB drive. She's hiding data. Could be photos, videos, files, something important. Mark nodded thoughtfully. If we can get our hands on it, maybe we'll understand what's going on. But how? Emma and Mark knew Karen wouldn't just give up the drive willingly. They needed a plan. A way to catch her in the act. And maybe even retrieve the USB without alerting her. That afternoon, Emma went for a walk around the neighborhood, casually keeping an eye on Karen from a distance. Karen, as usual, moved with quiet precision, her steps calculated and calm. Emma noticed Karen slip into a small, forgotten community shed near the back of the park, a place most neighbors rarely visited. Emma's heart thumped. This was it. She waited until Karen left, then approached the shed cautiously. The door was slightly ajar. Inside, the shed was cluttered with old gardening tools. But in the corner, a small table held a laptop. Its screen still glowing faintly, Emma's eyes darted around, searching for anything out of place. And then she saw it, a stack of printed photos, some of which showed neighbors' houses, including her own. Some photos were circled in red ink. Others had notes scribbled in the margins. Emma's stomach churned. What was Karen doing with these photos? Was she spying on everyone? Her gaze dropped to the laptop, where a folder named Community Watch was open. Emma hesitated, but clicked inside. The folder was filled with video files, many labeled with dates, and times corresponding to the times packages disappeared. Emma's breath caught as she opened one file. It showed footage from hidden cameras, pointed at different porches across the neighborhood. She realized with horror. Karen had been monitoring everyone. Then, Emma noticed another folder labeled Threats. Opening it, she found photos of a shadowy figure lurking near homes, a man in a dark hoodie, the same man from earlier. Emma felt a cold wave of realization wash over her. Karen hadn't just been stealing packages. She'd been gathering evidence of a dangerous intruder, someone who'd been threatening the neighborhood. Had Karen been trying to protect them all along? Was she the vigilante Emma suspected? Or something more? Suddenly, Emma's phone buzzed. A message popped up on the screen. Stop digging, or you'll regret it. Emma's hands trembled as she stared at the warning. Whoever sent it was watching her closely. She looked back at the shed one last time, before closing the door and locking it behind her. Mark was waiting at her house when she returned, worry etched on his face. We found something, Emma said quietly, showing him the photos and videos. Mark's expression darkened. This is bigger than we thought. Karen isn't just a thief. She's caught in a war we never knew existed. Emma nodded, the weight of the situation sinking in. They both knew one thing for sure. The truth was out there, hidden beneath layers of deception and danger. And whatever Karen's real mission was, it was far from over. The next HOA meeting was supposed to be routine. A quick roundup of community issues. Nothing out of the ordinary. But Emma had other plans. With Mark by her side, she arrived early, clutching a USB drive containing the damning footage and photos from the community shed. The tension was thick in the room as neighbors settled into folding chairs, chatting quietly. Karen arrived last, her posture rigid, eyes cold and unreadable as always. She took her seat near the back, avoiding direct eye contact with Emma. When the meeting began, Emma wasted no time. I need to share something important, she said, voice steady but firm. I've uncovered evidence that someone in this community has been stealing packages and surveilling neighbors. Murmurs rippled through the room. Emma pressed play on her laptop, projecting the video footage onto the wall. There was Karen, caught in the act, taking packages in the dead of night. Gasps and whispers filled the room. Karen's face hardened, but she didn't interrupt. Emma continued, showing photos from the shed. Snapshots of neighborhood houses, marked with red circles, notes scribbled beside them. "This isn't just about theft," Emma said. "Someone's been watching all of us." Karen finally spoke, voice calm but sharp. "You think you know the whole story, Emma, but you don't." Emma looked her in the eye, then explained. Karen stood slowly, the room falling silent. "Yes, I took packages," she admitted, "but it wasn't for myself. I was protecting this neighborhood." The room erupted in disbelief. Karen raised a hand for quiet. "There's been a serial thief, maybe worse, operating here for months. I caught wind of it through anonymous tips and decided to act, to gather evidence." Emma frowned. "So you're saying you stole packages to catch a criminal?" Karen nodded. "I couldn't go to the police without proof. I was watching, recording, waiting for the right moment." Mark leaned forward. "And the man we saw meeting with you?" Karen's eyes flicked to him. "An informant. Someone who noticed suspicious activity too. Together, we've been trying to stop this." Tense silence fell. Emma's anger bubbled beneath the surface. "You lied, Karen. You stole from your neighbors, and you kept it secret." Karen's gaze didn't waver. Sometimes the truth is messy. Before the conversation could go further, a loud knock echoed from the meeting room door. Everyone froze. Mr. Bennett opened the door cautiously, revealing a uniformed police officer. "I'm Detective Harris," the officer announced, stepping inside. "We've been investigating package thefts and threats in this neighborhood. We'd like to speak with Ms. Mitchell." Karen's face remained unreadable as she stood. Following the officer out, whispers surged as the door clicked shut behind them. Emma and Mark exchanged looks. Had Karen's vigilante mission just caught up with her? Or was this the moment the real criminal would finally be exposed? As the meeting ended, Emma packed her things, thoughts swirling. Karen's claim had shifted the narrative, but could she be trusted? Had Karen been protecting the neighborhood or playing her own dangerous game? And most importantly, was the threat truly over or only just beginning? The answers felt just out of reach, like shadows slipping through fingers. Emma resolved to keep watching, keep digging, because in this neighborhood, nothing was as simple as it seemed. Emma's mind churned as she left the HOA meeting. Karen's arrest by Detective Harris left a swirl of questions, hanging heavy in the air. Had Karen really been a vigilante, trying to protect the neighborhood, or was she something far more dangerous? And what about the mysterious informant? Emma knew better than to assume the truth was clear. The quiet suburban streets concealed more secrets than she had ever imagined. That night, Emma sat at her kitchen table, eyes fixed on her laptop screen, replaying the footage she and Mark had collected. The more she watched, the more she realized how much she still didn't know. Mark's voice buzzed through her phone speaker. "I managed to get a little more footage from the neighbor's security system. There's something odd on it. You need to see." Within minutes, Mark sent a video clip. Emma leaned closer, the screen showing a shadowy figure entering a house on their block, one Emma hadn't paid much attention to before. The figure moved deliberately, taking something from inside and slipping away as quietly as they'd come. Emma's stomach dropped. This was new. "Do you recognize that house?" she asked Mark. "No, but it's not Karen's. And it's not the informant's," Mark replied. Emma's mind raced. The thefts weren't over. Someone else was still operating in the shadows. That weekend, Emma decided to confront her fears head on. She walked cautiously toward the house from the footage, trying to appear casual. The house was quiet, no lights on, but the blinds were cracked just enough to hint that someone was inside. As Emma neared, she heard the faint hum of a television and the soft sound of a door unlocking behind her. She turned sharply. There stood a man, the hooded figure from before, but now his face was visible. He was younger than she expected, with sharp eyes that flicked to her suspiciously. "Who are you?" Emma asked, voice steady despite her pounding heart. The man hesitated. Then, surprisingly, he spoke in a low voice. "I'm trying to stop it too." "Stop what?" Emma pressed. "The package thefts. The threats. There's a bigger problem in this neighborhood. And Karen. She's just one piece of it." Emma frowned. "But why? Why steal from neighbors? Why keep secrets?" He sighed deeply. "Because sometimes, to fight darkness, you have to step into the shadows." Before Emma could respond, her phone buzzed violently. Another anonymous message. "Stay out of this, or you'll disappear like the others." Emma's blood ran cold. The man's eyes hardened. "You're in deeper than you think. Be careful. Who you trust." With that, he vanished into the night, leaving Emma standing alone, shivering in the cold. Back at home, Emma shared everything with Mark, who was visibly shaken. "We're dealing with something much bigger than just stolen packages," Mark said grimly. "There's a network here, and it's more dangerous than we imagined." Emma nodded, determination setting in. "We have to find out who's really behind this. And fast." But as she lay in bed that night, staring at the ceiling, a chilling thought crept in. What if Karen was just a distraction? What if the real danger was still lurking, watching, waiting for the right moment to strike? Emma closed her eyes, knowing one thing for sure. The fight was far from over. The next morning, Emma woke up with a restless energy she couldn't shake. The previous night's encounter with the hooded stranger had left her unsettled, but more determined than ever. Someone was orchestrating a complex scheme in their seemingly peaceful community, and she was determined to unravel it. Mark arrived promptly, his face grim. "I dug a little deeper into the neighborhood records," he said, setting his laptop on the kitchen table. "There's something odd about that house you visited. The one in the footage." Emma leaned in, her eyes narrowing. "The house belongs to a man named Victor Lane. No one here really knows him well. He keeps to himself. But check this out. He's got a history of cybercrime, identity theft, and fraud in multiple states. Yet somehow he slipped into this neighborhood without raising suspicion." Emma felt a shiver crawl down her spine. "So, the hooded guy might actually be Victor Lane." Mark nodded. "Seems likely. But here's the kicker. Karen and Victor seem to be connected. I cross-referenced the times they were both seen on the footage. And they have met several times in secret." Emma's mind reeled. Karen wasn't acting alone. This was a coordinated operation. Before they could discuss further, Emma's phone buzzed. Another anonymous message. "Stop digging or face the consequences." This time, Emma didn't flinch. She showed the message to Mark, who clenched his jaw. "We're too deep now to turn back," he said. That afternoon, Emma decided to visit the local police station to talk to Detective Harris. Maybe the authorities knew more than they were letting. Detective Harris was a tall, no-nonsense woman with sharp eyes and a calm demeanor. When Emma and Mark laid out their concerns and shared the footage, Harris frowned deeply. "This isn't just about stolen packages," she said. "There's a pattern of escalating criminal activity tied to this neighborhood. Fraud, intimidation, even threats against residents." Emma swallowed hard. "Is Karen involved? Or is she a victim too?" Harris hesitated. "Karen has been both. She tried to protect the neighborhood, but she got in over her head. Victor Lane is the real mastermind. Emma's head spun. What can we do? Stay vigilant, Harris said, and keep me informed. I've assigned officers to patrol the area more frequently. But this won't be easy. Leaving the station, Emma felt the weight of responsibility settle over her like a cloak. Back home, she and Mark reviewed the footage again. This time, something new caught Emma's eye. A small emblem on Victor's jacket, barely visible, but familiar. It was the logo of a local security company. Why would a criminal like Victor wear that? Emma wondered aloud. Mark tapped his chin thoughtfully. Maybe it's a cover. Or maybe the company itself is involved. Emma's heart pounded. Could this go even deeper? Could the people they trusted to keep them safe be part of the problem? As evening fell, Emma heard a knock at her door. Her breath caught. Peeking through the peephole, she saw no one. But taped to the door was a small envelope. Inside, a single card with a chilling message. The game isn't over. We're watching you. Emma's hands trembled. As she showed the card to Mark. We're being watched, she whispered. Mark nodded grimly. And they're closing in. Emma realized then that this neighborhood wasn't just a battleground for stolen packages. It was a trap. And they were caught right in the middle. Emma's hands trembled as she held the ominous card. The words burning into her mind. The game isn't over. We're watching you. The threat was clear and terrifying. But after everything, Emma wasn't ready to back down. With Mark's help, she began tracing the origins of the card. Using his tech skills, they scanned it for any hidden markers or digital footprints. After hours of digging, Mark finally uncovered something. It's more than a threat, he said grimly. This card is linked to the security company Victor Lane wears the logo of. Emma's eyes widened. You mean the company might be behind everything? Mark nodded. And if that's true, it explains a lot. Someone inside the company could be orchestrating these thefts and threats to control the neighborhood. Or worse, Emma's mind raced back to Karen. Had she unknowingly stumbled into a web far larger than she could handle? Was Karen's theft just a desperate attempt to expose the corruption lurking under the surface? Determined to get to the bottom of it, Emma and Mark devised a risky plan. They would confront the security company head-on. The next morning, they drove to the company's headquarters, a sleek glass building that gleamed like a fortress. Inside, they requested to speak with the manager. Under the guise of being concerned residents, minutes later, a sharp-eyed woman named Ms. Ellis appeared. Her smile polite, but her gaze cold and calculating. Emma felt a chill. We're here because we believe someone inside your company is involved in criminal activity, Emma said boldly. Mrs. Ellis's smile faltered for a brief moment before she recovered. I'm afraid you're mistaken. Our company prides itself on community safety. Mark stepped forward, pulling out the footage and photos. Then explain this. On the table, the evidence lay exposed. The videos of Victor Lane, Karen's secret meetings, the anonymous threats. Ms. Ellis's facade cracked. You don't understand, she whispered, voice low. Victor was our problem employee. We tried to keep him in line, but he went rogue. The thefts, the threats, they were part of his attempt to manipulate the neighborhood. Emma and Mark exchanged looks. The pieces were falling into place. Ms. Ellis continued. Karen got involved because she wanted to help. But Victor's network runs deeper than you realize. He's been using our security infrastructure to cover his tracks. Before Emma could ask more, the door burst open. Detective Harris and several officers stormed in. Ms. Ellis, you're under investigation for complicity in the criminal activities plaguing this neighborhood, Harris announced. The room froze. Emma realized then that the true danger wasn't just one man. It was the system protecting him. Days later, Victor Lane was arrested, along with several corrupt employees from the security company. Karen, cleared of all charges, was released from custody, her reputation restored. Emma and Mark sat on Emma's porch one evening, watching as calm returned to the neighborhood. Who would have thought stolen packages would uncover something so big? Mark said with a tired smile. Emma nodded. Sometimes you have to dig beneath the surface and watch closely. Just as the sun dipped below the horizon, Emma's phone buzzed. A new message flashed on the screen. Thank you for watching. Stay safe. Emma smiled, feeling a strange mix of relief and triumph. The neighborhood had been tested and survived, and for now, the watchers had become the watched.